Hi. So, good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are around the world. I am Astri Gautama, and I will be presenting our program, namely the Regional Economic Recovery Program. So, this is about municipal financing in during the COVID-19 pandemic. This program is under the wings of PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur Persero, or we can shorten it as PTSMI. And I am going to go through all this, the introduction, and then what we do, and what we actually, who we are actually essentially, and then what we are sort of thought to accomplish through this program. So I would just go. Maybe it is best to sort of introduce who we are. So PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur Persero, or PTSMI for short, is a state-owned enterprise under the Ministry of Finance of Indonesia. We are established in 2009 and focusing on infrastructure financing. And in 2015, we received a new mandate for financing to local government. So we call it municipal financing. And this financing actually, especially, is an alternative for the financing that the local government usually receive from the central government or their own source revenue. So as we can see here, we have, this is our business pillars and strategic partnerships and the sectors that we can actually finance. And these are all the key performances facts, sort of, about our company. So we are fairly young, but during this pandemic, I think we receive a very hefty responsibility. So we become actively involved in the economic recovery program, both for state-owned enterprises and for local governments. So our key value proposition is that we are the national strategic partner in channeling grants, soft loans, technical assistance, and capacity building. We have the market for it, like we have the user for it, the ultimate beneficiary for it. So we work closely with government agencies, we work closely with local governments, we work closely with multilateral donors, and we are open for many more partners in the future, because we have a lot to offer, and we have a lot to give back to the government or to Indonesia. And as a financial institution, we have proven track record. We are, as you can see in the first slide, we are our performance as a financial institution is very established. Other than financing, we also provide end-to-end solution by having the 3 business pillars to support SDG and climate resilience. So we have the financing part of it, obviously, but then we also have the project preparation side of it, the technical assistance side of it. So it's all sort of a holistic approach in infrastructure financing to provide, to provide more value to local governments, especially. This is what we envision in the future, is that we can be the leading catalyst for acceleration of national infrastructure development. So we are not only as the sort of the market maker or the development partner, but we want to be the ecosystem enabler. So we create and we build an ecosystem that would be ideal for us all to move forward in the infrastructure development in this term, and both in financing, both in preparations for projects, etc. So why is it? So before we moving forward, maybe I would state 2 important infos. So Indonesia, as you know, is a vastly archipelagic country. We have more than 13,000 islands across Indonesia that is divided into 34 provinces, and 34 provinces, and we made up. So Indonesia is made up of 500 and around 542 autonomous local government. So with different condition, they live in different islands with different fiscal capacities across the board. There are, for example, Jakarta, that is very quote unquote rich because their own sourced revenue is it's the highest in the country right now. But then you have the ones in, say, East Nusa Tenggara, which have very limited source of their own source of revenue because they have not have like a high taxing power. So they rely most on the transfer from the central government, which leads me to my second important infos. More than 60% of local governments in Indonesia, out of the 542, rely heavily on intergovernmental transfer. So they are very dependent on what the central government could give them in terms of revenue, because they have like a lower taxation power. So they actually they receive year annually they would receive a certain amount of transfer that the government, the central government would give them. These two facts actually then sort of it would amplified, this fact are amplified by the fact that we are in the pandemic right now. So during the early stages of the pandemic in March and April, actually, the central government said that the local budget need to have refocusing and reallocation of the local budget. So, and then there are budget cuts across the board. The transfer that usually is the main revenue for local government is now cut in up to 35%. So now local government, being dependent on intergovernmental transfer, they scrambled. So they have to sacrifices projects that they are preparing to, they are planning to be financed or to be done in this fiscal year, but then they couldn't really do it because there's no money. To put it very simply. So what we do is that because we have the mandate, PTSMI has the mandate to give municipal financing to local government. So we, in the beginning of the pandemic, around March and April, we actually sort of thought, we discussed, we brainstormed of what can we do. What can we actually give to the local government or provide services to local government to keep them afloat? Not in like in the sense of cash flow, but more into all the projects that has been postponed or sacrificed because of the budget cuts, mainly in the basic infrastructure alley. Still could be financed, since it is essential. It's an essential part of the government to ensure that they still can give the best possible public service to the public in need right now during the pandemic. So this is just a brief sort of idea of what we do in the last few years. So we have vast majority in Sulawesi for the financing. And the three big sectors that we have right now is road and bridges, hospital, and traditional market. But as in our portfolio is all over Indonesia, so it gives you an idea of what the PTSM are actually doing in municipal financing. Okay, so the economic regional core, the program. So we, let me just make it a bit, wait, let me just, okay, there you go. So the what we do during the why we actually come into the fruition of this program actually. So we, like I explained before, we sort of identify there are needs of for the local government to be able to still finance their projects that are benefiting the community. So we aim to give financing or loan to the to tackle the economic and social repercussion of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then the local government has a hard task to ensure economic recovery post COVID-19. And then this is not even the post COVID-19; it's still during the during the COVID-19 pandemic. So they are struggling to meet ends meet per se. So we, what we're trying to do is that we provide financing alternative for local government. So who experience budget refocusing and for allocation, and we want to give financing alternative for COVID-19 measures and prevention and recovery post COVID-19. What are the activities that we can finance is the unrealized DACA project. DACA is what we call a dana alokasi khusus. So it's a special grant fund from the central government that as usually the local government would send a proposal to the central government. They would sort through it, and then they said, okay, like we're gonna give you this much for road and bridges, let's say. And these projects are the ones who get cut or sacrificed in the beginning of the pandemic. So we are aiming to refinance those projects to ensure that the local government still has their priorities still could set out. And then we also could finance for water and sanitation supply, low-income housing, transportation, logistical infrastructure, and social infrastructure. The main feature of this particular scheme is that it's long-term, and with the principal grace period is also long-term. So the tenor is long-term. It could be up to 10 years. Principal grace period is also could be up to 2 years. The interest rate is the government bond yield based on tenor and plus 0.75% fixed and effective. And there are talks about givings. We are in the middle of negotiating to have a government subsidy or to lower again the interest of the interest for the local government. And they don't need to have like such a comprehensive feasibility study, because usually we ask, because we give financing based on projects, so we actually ask them to provide an in-depth feasibility study of the project. But for this recovery program, what all we need is a framework. Like we want to know what they want to do, what they want to build, like how it impacted the community, like how it would better their public service delivery. So those are the features that we are aiming for. And the precondition is that they have a formal declaration of disaster response or extraordinary situation. And the procurement itself, it follows the procurement regulation for emergency situation. And it's actually accessible until the 21st, the December 2021. I'm sorry. So this is the scheme. So this is a very streamlined scheme that we are sort of like the flow of the initiation, the processes during for this program is very streamlined. Like we want to make sure that the local government could access it, but not forgetting all the prudent. They have to be prudent in preparing the project. They still have to be responsible in managing the fund. So it's a streamlined version of what we usually do. So this is what the main feature of this program is. So these are all the sectors that we are going to that can be financed through this program. So we focus mainly on clean water facility development, wastewater treatment plant, and solid waste management, drainage power plants, housing development, specifically for low-income households, special region development, regional or local road improvement, hospital revitalization, health facility improvement, medical waste improvement, and traditional market revitalization. These are all the projects that usually they ask to provide to finance through PTSMI. I have a question. Do you plan to replicate the project in other states? So this is, I think, in my opinion, this program is easily transplanted, I think. But however, transplantation has to be, it doesn't work if you just, transplant it from one state to another. But it's more, but it has to have a modification on, you have to identify the needs. If it's the needs, the background of the states, and etc. So it's absolutely it could be a replicate. I think, and I think it's relevant. This program is very relevant for our condition right now. I think globally we sort of are in the same boat. So I think this is a great framework that you can replicate for other nations or states, or whatever. It's maybe in another city. Thank you for the question. So yeah, so sector-wise, it's very broad, I think, for this project, and we are aiming to be able to reach 542 autonomous local governments across Indonesia for this project. This is a blended finance mechanism. So as PTSMI has pledged 357 million US dollar for this project through the Regional Infrastructure Development Fund. And we are sort of building towards some more and more financing sources. So we are open for discussion for any partner that could help mitigate, or that could help actually grow this program more and more. Not only for in the financing side, but maybe on the technical assistance side for the local government, or for consultants, or for make it, I don't know, like impact assessment. That's also a thing that we are big on. So in fact, we actually sort of calculated the potential impact that this program could actually generate. So this is, as you can see, we calculate the impact of the 5 trillion regional economic recovery program on Java and outside Java economy. So there are 3.3 trillion value added, and then 810 billion value added outside of Java. And then for labor, there are additional 92,000 people alone in Java, and 8,800 people outside of Java economy. So this is very promising, and I think this is an answer sort of to what the local government need actually in this sort of condition. So there are another question. In the past few months, many officials across EU communicated on the challenges to enforce the GRPD provisions. What the EU can do to streamline this process. To be honest with you, I'm not familiar with GRPD. So if the one that gives the question could actually provide what is the GRPD stands for, I would love to answer. I would love to answer the question. What else? Okay, so yeah, so basically, what we do is we are working very closely with the local government, and the local government has been very, very vocal in voicing what they need and then what we can do to this they need for infrastructure development. And so okay, general data protection regulation. Oh, okay. So I think this is not really in my alley, the general data protection regulation for the EU. So I really am not the right person to ask this. But thank you so much for the question. The question was, in the past few months, many officials across EU communicated on the challenges to enforce the GRPD provision and what the EU can do to streamline the process. Is this towards like specifically to Indonesia? But again, I think I'm not the right person that could actually discuss about the general data protection regulation. I apologize for the lack of knowledge in that area. Yeah, so I think if you have any more question, I would love to try to answer it. So basically what PTSMI is doing now, we are opening communication with different donors and with different partners across the board, be it for local, with central governments, agencies, with multilateral donors like World Bank or AIIB or AFD, KFW. We are IFC also. So we are discussing the possibility of them contributing to this program. So I would love to have more and more network that maybe would provide us to broaden our perspective and how we can actually expand this program more and more, not only for the limited of the idea of financing, but more towards like a holistic, more rounded sort of approach on infrastructure financing that would bring greater impact to local government and local communities. As of now, actually, the central government, the Ministry of Finance to be exact, they gave us a mandate to provide, to be an operator. So operator to do their the national economic recovery program from the central government. So we are now dealing with that also. Next question, and what are the concrete actions or assistance provided by PTSMI usually that can be useful to face COVID-19's difficulties? So what we do is that we usually in this context for financing, what we do is we work closely with the local government and then sort of assist them in through all this their priorities. So we are encouraging and local government to sort of prioritize which projects have the most impact actually, or which projects that is with projects that are could, I don't know, create bigger bigger labor number, like labor that provide, you know, employment, or which so that those are the actions and assistance that we provided is as in this context. But also PTSMI has different CSR programs that directly tackle the COVID-19. pandemic to provide, I don't know, like masks or hazmat suits and whatnot, but that's more into that side. But in our side, we are working closely with the local government to they could actually provide um, better public delivery for the community. Do you engage in partnerships for events with structures in Europe? Partnerships, we have actually have a lot of partnerships in Europe, and then there are, I think, with AFD, the development agency in France. We have that. We have some talks with Bloomberg, but I'm not sure it's also in Europe. But we have talks with KfW, so we are opening communication. But if you are interested, like, I would love to actually hear from you. What sectors most damaged by the COVID-19? The sectors of infrastructure and development. This is interesting because I think in the context of local government, the road bridges is also a big sector that's damaged, and the traditional market. I think traditional market is the most that got impacted the most because they rely so much on community and like interaction, like face-to-face interaction, and then they are forced to change, and then they are forced to have distance with the trader and the buyer. So I think traditional market is the biggest had the biggest impact, and then they also contribute to the local revenue, so that also dampened the economic growth in the area. So my stage manager actually just told me that I have 5 minutes left, which I'm sure it's only 3 minutes. So I would love to wrap up this session, and I would like to thank you all for the questions. It's wonderful. Just so you know, this is my first time presenting here in Paris Peace Forum, let alone also presenting the first time for this program. And I am deeply passionate about this program. I've been doing this work for almost 5 years, working closely with local governments, central governments, agencies that could provide, like real impact to the community through the local government. So this is something that we pride ourselves because the success is the feeling of an infrastructure built because you actually do the hard work. The hard work means like the assistance and all these things, and then you can see the traditional market thriving. It's I mean, personally for me, it's very fulfilling. Again, I would like to thank you to listen, the audience that has listened to me explain this program, and I hope I could actually be in contact with some of you. Maybe if you are interested, you can contact me and just approach me in the forum. I will be there in the next 2 to 3 days. I think that's it. Again, I thank you for your attention. It's already 7:45 p.m. in Jakarta. So I hope you have a good rest of the day and enjoy your day in the Paris Peace Forum. Thank you so much.